The first time her feet ever touched Earth, she squealed with joy. It was a sound she never let out before. She didn't even realize she had made it. The grass was wet with dew and prickly. It tickled her feet with every step. The air filled her lungs, sweet and fresh. A butterfly fluttered by her. Finally, a real insect. The hatch behind her opened, and she turned to face him, to share her excitement. But he wasn't even looking at her, just at the tablet in his hands. Its light reflected in his crimson eyes and illuminated his rusty orange skin. She studied the stars tattooed on his head, knowing they'd be covered up soon, just like hers. "Do you have your assignment?" It was the first words he had spoken to her since the mission began, still in their own tongue. It felt strange. These words were the last she'd hear in her own language for 334 sols, half of a year. "It's in the ship still." He didn't bother to nod, just let out a disapproving grunt. The ship was small, consisting of their 2 seats angled to the ground, illuminated by the control panel and piles of equipment. There wasn't room to stay. They'd have to venture out. She remembered watching the elders build the ships from scratch as a child. She couldn't believe she was lucky enough to use one. She grabbed her own tablet, trying not to knock any equipment over. It had survived the landing. She wouldn't be the reason something broke. When she slipped out of the hatch again, her partner was already transformed, his familiar features replaced by odd ones. His head full of hair, skin transformed, light, straight, smooth. Hair where constellations once adorned his head. He looked different, what the elders called human. Then he was off. No more words, no good luck. She watched him for a while, then noticed the sky turn dark. She needed to transform now. It was like lucid dreaming, separating yourself from your body and inhabiting a new one. She couldn't remember when she first imagined this body, this person, but her face had begun showing up in every dream she had. Blurry, but there, materializing more and more every night until suddenly she had woken up not herself. But it was her. She looked down at her hands, no longer a deep violet, but a deep tan. She turned her head a little, fascinated with how hair felt as it moved. It tickled her as much as the grass. Her uniform was still on, the gray jumpsuit everyone wore back home. She wondered what humans dressed like, if she'd fit in. Fitting in was incredibly important on Mars, and even more important for her mission. After one final look at the ship, she headed in the opposite way of her partner, following the tablet's directions. The grass was still just as tingly on her feet. She didn't ever want to wear shoes again if this was what all of Earth was like. She trekked through the field, ignoring the desire to explore the nature around her, until she could see lights ahead.